Tulip.
And this is Cassidy.
And this is a much, much delayed episode of The Good News, the Gospel According to AMC's Preacher.
With good reason. Life happens.
Well, that, and I kind of lost a little bit of impetus. I think in part because I wasn't all that excited about the last few episodes that we watched. So
Have you watched ahead?
I have not watched the last one. No, I have not.
Okay.
Have you?
So we're casting season 2, episode 12 on your knees.
Right.
I have not watched the last episode because I'm a good girl and I don't want it to taint my opinion of this episode.
And so, give me your rating.
I actually rated it the last rating that I rated the previous episode, Backdoors. I rated it a 3.3 fingers under the stove.
Well, I don't remember what I rated Backdoors, but I suspect I probably rated it quite a bit lower than I did this episode.
It was 2 something.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was the lowest rating I think you had ever rated any other show that we've podcasted about.
So this I rated really high. I rated 4.325 out of 5 school bus crashes.
What?
I know. We're
totally have to talk about that.
We're totally opposite.
Yeah.
I just really liked it.
I don't have a lot bad to say about it, but it's very meh.
Huh. Well, so let's get into it. First, the title on your... Well, actually, no, we should probably do numbers first, huh? We're kind of out of practice.
We are. Our last podcast was published October 30th, so we are 3.5 months.
Oh my God, shame on us.
Our last podcast. Yeah.
That is not counting biters, but we're kind of behind with biters too because life happens.
Right. Dianne, yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't me this time. So for those who might still be listening, my husband decided to take a header off of a bale of hay.
Not a bale. It's
a round bale. So one of those huge round bales of hay.
Yeah. So Christmas... it's not like one of those like 2 foot by 2 foot by like 4.5 foot. You know?
No, it was like a good 5 or 6 foot drop. Really.
Yeah, it was a.
Yeah. And ended up in the hospital for a total of 10 days and had major surgery on one of his arms. And yeah, so
Merry Christmas
I haven't been
to
much
you.
for a podcast. And Merry Christmas and Happy Birthday. Thank you very much.
Well, no, and like it happened on Christmas Eve.
Right.
So yeah, that kind of shot your Christmas, your birthday, your New Year's.
Yep.
He better do something uber special for Valentine's.
At this point, I am totally down with him being alive and well because there were a few days in the ICU where I was not sure he was coming home. So
right. Yeah. Wow.
So life totally happens.
Life totally happened. And then like we were supposed to podcast last week and I just wasn't feeling it. And so here's the thing. So I really was not up to podcasting and I have kind of a standard of like kind of being on. So if I'm not feeling it and the subject matter is a 3.3 fingers under the stove, it's not that blockbuster. I really don't want to podcast because I don't want to be a downer and I don't want to be a drag and I want to be funny and I kind of take this job that I don't get paid for very seriously.
Very seriously.
So,
yeah.
Right. So like I didn't feel prepared. I didn't feel up to it. So like I postponed, then you postponed, and then I postponed, and here we are like the next week on Wednesday night. Like so yeah, I'm feeling up to it tonight and like I said, I do take it seriously. We don't get paid for this, so yeah, it's not my regular gig. But if you do want to help support the Southgate Media Group, you can go to the Patreon page, patreon.com/Southgate Media Group. And I have to give Rob a little bit of flack because I just noticed, and I wonder how long it's been like this. If you Google Southgate Media Group and you go to their main page where you can find all kinds of wonderful podcasts about other shows like Orange is the New Black, which I just started watching.
Oh
So
my God, you just started watching it? It's
I,
such a good show.
I'm like on episode 12 of season 1. Yeah, like so
Uh,
I'm actually going to have to go and listen
to
to
the
the podcast.
podcast. Oh, right
Yeah,
on.
yeah. So I will be a new fan of that podcast. But if you want to go and listen to other podcasts for other shows, you can help support them by Patreon. But at the very top of the Southgate Media Group webpage, it says that you can go to www.patron.com plus Southgate Media Group.
Okay,
Which,
that's funny.
if you click on it, it takes you to Patreon. I just wanted to point out that, Rob, there's a misspelling on the main page.
Oh my God, and that is really funny because I am drinking an off-brand tequila tonight, so not Patron or Patreon.
That's totally. I was like, is this some sort of new like platform? Patron, like. So I clicked on it. It took me to Patreon, which
That's totally awesome.
But I'm like, I wonder how long that's been there. I wonder why I'm the only one to notice. Am I the jerk that points it out?
You're probably
Yeah.
the only one who's clicking, and I will tell you a funny story. I think I've actually probably told you this before. So I am a supporter of Biters
Uh-huh.
because I started doing Patreon for Biters before I started podcasting Biters. So now I suspect I'm the only Patreon supporter of Biters, and I pay myself to podcast.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I do support a local podcast through Patreon, and so I love supporting independent media. You can do a one-time donation, or you can do a monthly subscription. It can be $1, it can be $5, whatever you want. But I just thought it was funny because I am the worst speller in the world.
Oh, how funny.
I am a child of F7, which is the shortcut for spell check. And so for me to notice that I'm like, Patron? Like, that's a tequila. So that was a fun little side cast and a little way to get a plug-in for Southgate Media Group's Patreon. So
I just want to point out, a bad speller, but a good drinker.
yes. There are very few tequilas I can drink. I'm more of a vodka girl myself. I recently had some friends turn me on to Three Howls Blood Orange Vodka.
Oh, I saw that. That looked really good. I saw that on your Facebook post.
Yeah, with Vimto. Am I pronouncing that right? Vimto?
Oh, I have no idea.
It's basically diabetes in a bottle. Because it's basically cassis or whatever, blackberries, pears, like it's all kinds of fruit syrup. It's a syrup that like you do with like mixers and stuff, and like it tastes like children's grape Dimetapp from
that tastes so good.
Okay, no, from the 90s because
I wouldn't know.
They've put bitter in it now so that we stop drinking it straight. Because children's grape Dimetapp in the 90s was delicious.
I don't know. I'm going to tell you, not in any podcasting setting, but in another area of my life, I met someone today who literally drinks a bottle of NyQuil a day. So there are some people who still love that kind of stuff, whether there's bitter in it or not.
Oh, like that just that gives me heartburn just thinking about it. Yeah, no.
A bottle of NyQuil a day.
The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coffee. How did I wake up on the bathroom floor? Cold medicine.
Oh my God.
No, but Vim2 is delicious. Our friends, when we dog sit for them, they always overdo bringing back like coffee and alcohols from their travels, and like this last time, like I'm not even exaggerating, my coffee table was full of different wines and alcohols and mixers and pancake mix from the Jack Daniel's brewery because they use the wheat in a different way, and like just they were amazing, and they overdid it. So my liver is screaming out in pain but I much appreciate my drink.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. So
So to the
yeah.
numbers.
What were our ratings?
We digressed dramatically, which is kind of funny.
We
Actually,
did, but I got a Patreon plug in there.
And the other thing is I think you might have a new calling as a spokesperson for NyQuil. Because that was a pretty awesome plug.
Except that I prefer Children's Dimetapp from the 90s.
So it looks like we got 1.1 million same-day views. And I was looking at an article, which I actually think I saved the link to. I did. And it looks like most of the episodes in season 1 had right around 1 million views. The premiere had the season high, which was 1.69 million views. But the article was saying, that's good enough to get renewed.
Right, and so we are renewed for season 3.
We are, and they should be taping now because they were starting to tape last month, right?
Right.
Tape is probably like really old language for what they're actually doing.
Yeah, it probably is. Filming.
There you go.
Filming. There we
go.
So season 1 premiered at the end of May, and season 2 premiered at the end of June. So think around May, June.
Maybe even as late as July, depending.
Right. Because I think usually when something like this or other things premiere, it's usually kind of is like a half season, maybe a mid-season replacement. So, yeah, sometime around summer.
So it should be on sometime during Fear the Walking Dead then, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I think it comes on afterwards.
Okay, so you think it'll maybe be the filler for Fear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the last episode, Backdoors, I went back and listened to our podcast for Backdoors, and it was 111% ratings increase.
From
the previous episode.
Really?
Right, yeah. And And I think that was because the episode before that was Dirty Little Secrets, which was the
5 Million Moms one, or the Million Moms, or whoever the hell they are.
Super controversial episode.
Right.
So I think there was a lot of talking going on. So everyone, maybe they caught Dirty Little Secret, on the Live +7 or the Live +11 or whatever, and then watched Backdoors, as it aired. So I was interested to see what episode 12 On Your Knees was going to be, if it was up or down or same.
It was okay. I think it was a little bit down, actually.
Yeah.
So according to according to what I'm looking at, but this is same day, there were 900,000 same day for Backdoors.
Okay.
So this is actually up a tiny bit, but probably when you take into account Live +3, probably Backdoors was right up there.
Right.
So.
Okay. So On Your Knees.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty self-explanatory a couple of times during the episode.
Although it was really interesting. So I liked the way they used it as a theme. And they used it in a bunch of different settings. So, like, Preacher would say to the Saint of Killers, "On your knees."
Right.
And Saint of Killers, when he was being baptized, the preacher who was baptizing him told him, "On your knees," but for a different reason. There were a couple of other places where it was used.
At the very end, when Jesse went to
Harry Starr bowed to him.
Now what? Yeah, and Harry Starr got on his knees. So,
and I was also thinking, didn't they say that to Jesse's dad when they killed Jesse's dad?
Yes, they did. I didn't catch that, but.
So it's got a lot of different meanings, both positive and negative connotations. So I thought that was very interesting.
Right.
But it all ultimately, I guess, is about power over or submitting to something.
Right.
So,
Right. A higher power, at least.
mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep. So I have to tell Diane that she was totally right and I was totally wrong.
No way, really? What was I totally right about?
So
Because that doesn't happen very often.
I thought that Dennis just wanted Banjo for the companionship.
Yeah, no.
And Diane was like, no, he wants to eat the dog.
Yes, he does.
Totally wants to eat that poor little dog.
I know.
And in the last podcast, I was like, no. He just is like, he needs a comfort blanket. Nope. He wants to drain that poor little thing dry.
And en français, pauvre petit chien. Poor little dog.
Oh, don't kill the dog.
Right? That is the surest way to lose us, is to mess with an animal.
Yep. Yep. There's actually a website. I think it's called Do They Kill the Dog?
Oh, that is hilarious.
And it has like all the movies and stuff of like where like an animal survives or not.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to Google that right now while I've got you on. That is hilarious.
Yeah, it's like the most important website to go to if you're gonna go see a movie.
Does the Dog Die website tells you if animals are killed in movies?
Yep. Yep.
The most important movie question, does the dog die?
Yep. It's an actual website, and
that is so funny. I think it's actually It's barkpost.com/does-the-dog-die/.
That's funny.
Oh my God, that is funny.
So,
well, and we don't know because we haven't watched the final episode yet, but it's not looking good for little Banjo.
Well, if we think about it, like, I keep, every once in a while I flash back and I'm like, we started off season 1 in Anvil and everyone is dead.
There is that.
Like, no one is safe. So, like, not that I want the dog to die, but I'm like, yeah, probably.
Well, and so this is probably not a spoiler for anybody who might actually still be listening to this podcast, but I did see something on Preacher Wikia that basically says about the last episode of this season, has one of the characters reached the end of the road? And I was like, no! I didn't look any further, but maybe it's Banjo.
Okay, for once, I kind of hope that the dog dies. No, but it's probably Dennis, because we talk about, like...
Well, he doesn't look very good when we last see him, now does he?
No.
Although Jesse did get him to take blood, so...
Yeah. So do you want to start out with your good?
Well, I want to just talk real quick about our director and our writer. Yeah. So our writers were Sam...
Out of practice I am.
Well, we're both totally out of practice. So our writers were Sam Catlin, who is known for Breaking Bad, and Rachel Wagner, who has this Preacher credit and then has a credit for CSI New York. So she doesn't have very much on her IMDb. And our director is someone we've talked about before, Michael Slovis, who has Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, Hell on Wheels, Better Call Saul.
He's produced a lot of he's directed a lot of the Preachers, but I think he's produced like 80% of all Preachers. So he normally has a producer credit, but he's got a director's credit for this episode.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
He also, just throwing this out for you, has a Game of Thrones credit for directing.
I know.
And he has a Man in the High Castle credit for directing. So, which I really like Man in the High Castle.
I know. I still need to watch season 2.
Well, I haven't watched season 2 yet either because, again, too close to home. So,
there's so much good on. Like I like I said, I just started Orange Is the New Black, which means I'm like 6 seasons behind or something ridiculous. I'm watching Altered Carbon, which is the new one on Netflix.
How is that?
It's really, really good. So I'm like 3 episodes away from the season finale, which it's Netflix, so they generally release everything all at once.
Right.
And there's like 10 or 12 episodes, and so I'm 3 away, and I'm losing a little bit of interest, but like it's been solid up until now, and I think it's just I need to stop trying to binge stuff because I get
Ah.
sick of it. So I'm also watching The Alienist,
Oh,
which
I've heard that's quite good.
it is, and it's based on a book, and
Mm-hmm. Caleb
it's
Carr.
right. It's one of those I really want to go, read the book, and I really like all of the actors in the show, and because it's on cable, I'm having to watch it piecemeal, so it's keeping my interest. But I mean, there's so much so many good shows out there that it's so hard to watch everything and to keep up on everything.
I'm totally watching the news. That's like all. I'm so boring.
So I was thinking today because I've been listening to political podcasts at work
Mm-hmm.
and also My Favorite Murder.
Oh, yay, you're catching back up.
I'm catching back up.
I'm behind again, so I need to.
Oh no, I'm still in like 2016. I'm on episode like 37.
Ah, okay, I'm ahead of you still then.
But like I have to be really really careful because they are an adult podcast. They talk about really bad things, and so they can use bad language, and they use the F word like a comma in a sentence.
Right.
And it makes me start to use the F word so I'm like, oh, like that shouldn't have been the last thing I did before I podcasted. Like I'm gonna start swearing on my PG-13 podcast or PG podcast. And I'm so good about not swearing. So yeah, be ready with the bleep button, Rob.
Don't swear, because it just makes too much work.
It does. And who needs that?
Right. Well, I do. I use the F word like a comma, so it's always hard for me to do a non This Conversation Rocks podcast. But
See, and that's the other thing about I take it seriously. So I kind of I have I try and project my voice. I try to enunciate. I try not to swear. I try to be extra funny. So the podcasting is not something I can do when I'm really not feeling it. So this is why we are 3.5 months off target.
oh my God. Well, hopefully we'll be better. I just, it seems like real life is there's always something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the way that it is.
If you're still with us, Phil. If you're still with us, at least you're probably catching up to probably start watching season 3 of Preacher. So
there you go.
Because I will actually be new to a podcast for Orange is the New Black. So it really doesn't matter how far behind they were because I'm 6 years behind.
So who does the Orange is the New Black podcast?
Oh, you had to ask me that.
Oh, no, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I mean, I should know too.
It's the top one on at least the
Oh, I was going to say, no, Biters is the top one.
No. For the mobile version of the Southgate Media Group thing right now. And it's actually not telling me. Yeah. Hosted by Martha and Meg and Rob.
Oh, right on. The Southgates themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent.
So I look forward to binging that with my new Netflix obsession.
Very good.
Yeah.
So,
maybe I'll have to support them on Patreon.
There you go.
Or a Patron. One of the other.
I am all about supporting them on Patron. Cha-ching!
All right.
So I didn't really have a featured cast member. I felt like it should be Ian Coletti because he did such a great job as Eugene in this episode and was just so wonderful. But there's really not much new about him on his IMDb page.
Well, and I don't think we've really seen much of a new character. And it was funny. I was listening to our last podcast and I was joking about making the wrestler dude, Tyrus?
I think so, yeah.
He's the guard that is with what's her name?
Ms. Mannering.
Ms. Mannering, and I did the exact same thing on the last podcast, so at least I'm true to form. So, George Murdoch, I was talking about him and how he's a wrestler, Tyrus, uh, and he's also a Fox News commentator.
I think I
And
remember you saying that.
yeah, and so I actually went and I did watch a couple of his segments
No
on
way.
YouTube. I did. And I do have to say, I think he is the nicest guy, and I would love to like hang out with him and like have a beer with him or whatever.
But not
Or
talk politics with him?
yeah, yeah. And what's funny is like I just he's super nice about it. He's like not I don't think he's extreme or I don't like I'm just like no, I don't agree. Like I'm not there's no like I'm not vehemently against him or anything. He's just so super nice and he's like I get where he's coming from, but I'm just like no, I don't agree. So like I did watch a couple of his segments and no, he and I do not have the same politics at all. But he's still like a really cool guy that I would love to hang out with. So
That's pretty funny.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, he's got like 4 million subscribers on his YouTube and still, I mean, he's doing something right. Doing something right. So
Doing better than we
yeah,
are, dude.
exactly. So good on you. But yeah, so I didn't have a featured cast member either because we don't have really anybody new. We killed everyone off and we haven't really
Oh,
introduced anybody.
but I do have a little tidbit.
Okay.
So I found out that the guy who wrote the theme for Preacher is a guy named Dave Porter. And he also wrote the themes for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Oh, that makes sense. The ANC universe.
So he's not really a featured character, a featured cast member, but there you go. He contributed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg have a lot on their plate coming up. They are going to be doing a show for, I believe it's Showtime.
Really?
Yeah, it's called it's titled quote unquote 25, the number 25.
Huh. I wonder what
Yeah.
is there any information about what it's going to be about?
Um, the hybrid comedy follows 20-something Kyle, who comes to Austin, finally convinced his old best friend from camp they are perfect for each other. Unfortunately, she just got engaged. A lot of guys would give up, but Kyle is one of those guys. To Kyle's surprise, even though they came to town looking for the one, he might end up with much more than that. So, and like I said, I think I saw that it was on. I thought I saw it was on Showtime. Maybe not. But I'm thinking Showtime would be a much more appropriate place for Seth
Preacher?
right? Yeah, like I don't think these guys like it's really really hard to do cable. So yeah, and so they're also doing something else that I can't remember now. I'm trying. Oh no. Okay, here's the upcoming Showtime pilot, Ball Street. Looks like title 25 is going to be on PBS, not PBS, CBS. And Ball Street is going to be on Showtime, and it's going to star Don Cheadle.
Oh, I love Don Cheadle. He's a great actor.
Right? So they really have a lot on their plate. So I'm really hoping that they're still going to put 110% into Preacher to kind of bring it up. So maybe we get a season 4 out of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we're going to see a season 4.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Especially after this episode, which you hated and I loved.
I didn't hate. Did not hate. There's no hate.
Okay, you didn't love it.
Meh. So, yeah.
Well, so give me your gospel, your good news.
I really love the scene with Hitler and Eugene breaking out of hell, where Eugene is confronting everything. I mean, just like Tracy Loach, his dad, Prairie Dog Phil. Is
Yeah,
that
that
the
was
name?
creepy, man.
Yeah. The only one he didn't confront that I think that may should have been included was um Preacher has actually been in his hell before.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. In fact, when the bathroom door opened and the groundhog or the prairie dog came out,
Prairie Dog. Yep.
I thought it was going to be Preacher.
Yeah, yeah. And so I don't know if that was like maybe on the editing room floor or maybe that's he's going to confront him in real life or what that was saved for. But yeah, I really loved uh, this episode because Eugene grew a pair of balls. So, um, you know, and I mean, like we've said, he's such a sympathetic character and just Tracy Loach seemed like every horrendous teenage girl that's tortured a teenage boy.
And didn't you
And
just love that he like kind of broke and was like, you're mean.
yeah, yeah. And so I really loved this part of the episode for that. And I really also liked the way that they brought back Sheriff Root and gave him
Hmm.
our space. That was such an interesting visual, you know, and that, you know, Ian was just Ian, I called him Ian, Eugene. Ian's his real name. Um, that he was just like, I'm a kid, you know,
Right. No,
lay
I thought the
off.
whole thing was great.
Yeah, I did too. I absolutely loved that part where, you know, yeah, and that was the way out of hell, you know. So that was my good.
So, what's really funny is our goods are very similar. So, mine was Eugene's redemption, which was
Mhm.
his way out of hell, right?
Yep.
So, what I really felt like it was all about, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about this just because of the Buddhist stuff that I'm studying and the Buddhists that I'm studying with, redemption is letting go of stuff that's not yours, letting go of responsibility for stuff that's not yours. Eugene being able to say to Tracy, "You're mean," or being able
Yeah.
to say to his dad, "I'm just a kid."
Yeah, I didn't ruin your life just by the one thing that I did wrong when I was 17.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just really felt like the theme of Eugene's redemption in this episode was really great and really satisfying, and Ian Coletti played it so well.
Yeah.
It's actually
And
really disappointing when shows like this don't get noticed because I think this is definitely. I think Ian Coletti could win an award for this performance.
yeah, and you know, I was thinking I do love to see him without his makeup on,
Right?
without
He's such a
arse face
cute
makeup.
kid.
He is. He's adorable. And there's my good and my ugly have a similar theme to them in that, you know, it's one of those things that like this show and this genre of TV and everything is they want to be shocking and they want to be outlandish and they have a source material and but if you are a you know a avid watcher like we are and you know you do a podcast so you overanalyze it to death, you can pick up on a few things like this where there's a larger message about it and I absolutely love that.
And
So
and Ian Coletti's just great.
yeah, yeah, and you know, it's one of the I love South Park for that reason. In that there's it's absurd, and the way that they point out life's absurdity is by being absurd. And you know, if it takes an arse face in hell to point out that you know your life is not over because you made one mistake when you were 17, and you're not responsible for the entire world's ills, then yeah, I really loved that about this episode and about Ian's performance.
So I have to share something with you, and probably the one or two listeners that we still have won't care, but one of the teachers that I really love in the Buddhist community that I'm involved with said in a talk, "You can't hate yourself into becoming a better human being."
No, yeah,
And I was like, "Oh, I love that." And it's that's really Eugene's story.
well, and it's a universal story. I
It
mean,
is.
look at I mean, to bastardize a quote from Martin Luther King, hate, love, hate doesn't drive out hate. Love drives out hate.
Right.
You know, and so yeah, you just got to let that go.
Yeah.
You know, you got to move forward, and just the past is in the past, and you know, you don't live there, so pack your bags or leave them there. But
Listen to us getting all philosophical and deep.
this is what happens when we go 3.5 months without doing a podcast.
That's so funny.
It's our therapy. We got to get it out, and it's a way to hook you, and yeah. We have a lot of time to fill.
Oh, I think we're doing a perfectly good job filling time. We've talked about
good.
Patron and Does the Dog Die, so I think we're doing just fine.
All right.
Now, whether or not anyone is still with us, I'm not sure, but we're doing just fine.
Well, we don't get paid for it. We do it for the love of the podcast. So
Right. We do it so we can talk once a week.
Exactly. So I'm still going to be here. So you're good and my good were about the same thing.
So what's your Job or your bad?
It was a little convoluted. So I don't like being unprepared or feeling confused or anything like that. And
you felt like the episode was convoluted.
Well, so we start off with the Saint of all killers in the back of the armored car, and we finally find out why he's missing from the armored car, but hasn't
it's a different armored car,
right? But he hasn't been stalking our trio for weeks. It's because he's been trapped in the original armored car because
with Hoover.
Right. 1 week goes by and then 2 weeks goes by, you know, and so he has been trapped in the armored car, just not the one they pulled up from the swamp. But I think on one of the previous episodes, we were like, if he's not in the back of that thing, where is he and why isn't he on Jesse's tail? Because Jesse's been using the word left and right.
Yeah.
Right. So we finally find out what happens there, but so what I gather takes place in the back of the armored car when Hoover and he finally come face to face is that the 1% of soul that Jesse gave the Saint is extracted from the Saint because that's what made him vulnerable. Okay, I had to go all the way back to episode 6. Sokosha, yeah, to remember that Jesse gave the Saint 1% of his soul because the Saint, when his wife and daughter were died,
he went on that killing spree.
Right, it was said that his soul shattered into 1,000 pieces, so he was the only living man without a soul. So he had no soul, which made him invulnerable to Jesse. When Jesse gave him a 1% of his soul, that's when the word started to work on the Saint.
Right.
And so Hoover extracted that. That's why he was looking at the manual in the cab of the truck. So
good on you. I completely did not put that together. Okay. I was trying to figure it out, but I did not put it together.
It took me 2 watches and reading all through my notes. So one of my big things about this episode is I think that was lost on a lot of people who are just casual watchers. And so that's why when we see Jesse and the Saint confront each other again, the word does not work on the Saint.
Oh, that so totally makes sense now.
Hoover extracted that 1%. Now, what Hoover or the Grail Industries does with that 1% of Jesse's soul now has yet to be decided. But, you know, it was... So my thing is why is the Grail helping the Saint only to then involve Miss Mannering and
to
send the
recapture
saint
the
back
saint.
to hell.
Well,
And
maybe it's because the saint would be really hard for them to control otherwise, and they have a use for Jesse.
that was the only thing I could come up with, was that in one of the previous episodes, Hairstar said that something to the effect of the reason why Jesse will cooperate with us and be the new Messiah is that we have something he wants. And I don't know, still don't
His
know what that actually.
1% of his soul.
Right, and also having the saint off his tail for good.
Good call.
But it was just, it seemed like a whole lot of storyline to get back to where we were in the beginning, so
Well, yeah, and that's
yeah.
been one of the beefs that we've had about this show all along, is that it's like too smart and too involved for the average viewer.
Right, exactly. So, it seems like there's just been a whole lot of character development, storyline, and everything, only to yank it away at the last second and to divert your attention someplace else. Now Jesse's the Messiah. So I was really frustrated with the fact that there was this whole big thing around the saint and the Grail Industries helping him, and then all of a sudden to just be like, nope, that wasn't a thing. Moving on. So that was my bad. I'm very, very frustrated with that. And whether it's we see more of the saint, or that's part of a larger plot line, is yet to be seen, because like I said, I don't watch ahead, so I have not watched the last episode. Maybe this all ties in and I'm an idiot and haven't seen it, but I don't miss much. So
I think we will see the saint again, because the saint kind of casually leans over and threatens Jesse about seeing him again before he leaves with Miss Mannering.
right, and God is missing, and Hitler and Eugene are escaping hell. Everything is breaking down, and so I'm sure that we will see the saint again.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like there's like we've wasted like 2.5 episodes on this storyline that we could have tied up in just a few cut scenes. I don't know. So I was very, very frustrated with that, because I was very involved in it, and then it was just yanked away at the last second. Like, oh nope, you're going back to hell. Bye.
I think, don't be too frustrated, because I think we'll see him again.
Okay.
But what's really funny is, once again, we're very much on the same page. My Job, my ugly, or my bad, was very much along the lines of what you just addressed. So I was like, my bad is that more questions were raised. And the questions I wrote literally were, how does the Saint Killer gain strength again? Whose soul did he get? Because I assumed that they gave him a different soul, or more of a soul. And why can't he hear Preacher? And you are exactly right. They didn't give him more soul. They took that little bit of soul out of him, and that's why he's strong, and that's why he can't hear Preacher using the word.
Yep. And this is why we podcast, is so we can talk about this stuff and get it. And so that you can get it. You being the listener, not Diane.
Right. No. But you are totally right on, and I totally missed that. And I'm so glad that you answered my questions, because now we can move on to Revelation. So, Revelation, what did you learn, or what was the big kind of plot point for you? Your ugly, as it were.
So, like I said, it's very similar to my good, in that, if you watch closely enough to these absurdities, that there is, they speak a lot of truth to, it translates to our real life. And the scene where Tulip, Jesse, and Cassidy are sitting in the diner discussing, one, unicorns, because of course. Cassidy's seen one. And they were talking about Jesse becoming the Messiah. And they, Jesse's basically like, I can't have Humperdew become the Messiah
Right.
because, he's insane. And Cassidy says something so insightful that, like, I think I rewound it about 3 times because I was just like, did I hear that right? Like, it was very profound in that it was so true to life. Um, he said, they've been rotating kinky gods on and off the throne since the beginning of time.
Right.
And
That was a great line.
it's so true because I mean, if you've listened to the podcast before or any of the other podcasts, I'm a humanist, atheist, agnostic, whatever you want to call me. I don't subscribe to any one religion, that has a deity. And it always reminds me of a few of, every once in a while, a meme pops up on my Facebook profile from one of my atheist pages that I like that says, humans are currently worshiping over 5,000 gods, but don't worry, yours is the one true God. Because it is so true. I mean, we've had all of these flawed beings sitting on a throne of worship for, since the beginning of time. And it reminds me of True Detective, the first season, when, he was talking about how, the first monkey pointed at its son and said to the second monkey, he wants you to give me all your bananas,
I have not watched True Detective, but that's an awesome line.
Season 1 is very, very good. It's very theological, very philosophical. I really liked season 1. I have not watched season 2. It got really bad reviews, both critically and from people I know. I don't always go with critical reviews. People I know were also like, it's a waste of time, but I'm probably still going to watch it at some point, after I've binged 6 seasons of Orange is the New Black.
I gave off on Orange is the New Black on season 4, so I have to get caught back up. We'll have to get caught. Let me know when you hit season 4 and I'll watch it with you.
Okay. Maybe we'll join into some podcasts if we ever catch completely back up with Rob and Martha.
There you go.
But so, I mean, we've put these flawed beings on a pedestal for so long and worshipped them that it's like, maybe Humperdew's not so bad.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. It's horrible. That's hilarious.
He likes dogs and masturbating, so how terrible could it be?
Oh my God.
So, but
there are some people for whom that would be a complete life.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen, maybe. I don't know. Add a little MJ into the mix and you're golden. So, but it was so profound that, Cassidy is spot on. And of course, being a 200-plus-year-old vampire, I'm sure
119 years, love.
Okay, 119. Was that vampire life or vampire plus human?
I think it's vampire life, actually. So,
okay. So, like, more like 150.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Right around there.
Yeah.
So, I love when shows use super absurdity to point out something that's obvious and true to life and profound. So that was mine.
Very nice. I like that a lot.
I don't think we have the same one this time.
We don't, actually. Mine was not nearly so happy.
Okay.
I just, I was thinking about all of the characters and I thought they are all tied together by tragedy. Like the characters that we really, really care about. Mm-hmm. Like Eugene was molested by the prairie dog. Oh. Jesse saw his dad get shot in front of him. The Saint of Killers had his family killed horribly. Tulip was raised by her alcoholic uncle.
Cassidy abandoned
his child. Exactly right. I've got that written down. So I was just like, oh, they're all linked by tragedy. It's so sad.
But that's the blood that congeals us all together.
That's not quite a Hallmark card. The blood that congeals us all together.
More like a demotivational poster.
Right.
The death of 1,000 tiny cuts congeals us all together.
You have a future in ads.
I do. I listen to way too many My Favorite Murder podcasts.
Oh, that is so funny.
I should start needle pointing these things onto throw pillows.
Seriously, sister, I could give you some lessons.
I could make a killing on Etsy.
I'm going to actually totally invite you to one of my favorite invitation-only Facebook pages on that note.
Needle pointing?
Mildly offensive fiber artists. If you are a fiber artist and you're out there, you should find this page and someone to sponsor you because, oh my god, the things that people do with fiber are pretty funny.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's pretty awesome. So look for an invite later on in your Facebook account.
See, and I love the absurdity, you know?
Well, you'll love the MOFAs.
The F word needle pointed onto a throw pillow, just, it does it for me. Yeah.
So, you know, one of my favorite things, and here we are completely digressing again, but every now and then someone will needle point something excellent for their bathroom. Like someone needle pointed the poop emoji and wrote, "Have a good poop." And then framed it and put it in their bathroom.
Oh, that's funny. And it makes you wonder how many people actually notice, you know?
Well, I would, but, you know, I guess that just means I'm absurd.
Absurd and observant. That's funny.
So, kind of wandering into the word, what have you got? Just kind of general observations.
Hitler and Eugene found my hell. I am in the extrapolator room with babies. I thought that was so hilarious that he's just they're crawling over the vents and he looks down and of course you hear screaming babies and he's like, babies? And I'm like, oh my god, he's found my hell.
That's awesome. That would be my hell too. We have a shared hell.
Right? Okay, for those of you who don't know, Dianne and I are both late in life and are child-free by choice.
I'm quite a bit later in life than you are, but yes.
Yeah, our eggs are spoiled.
We are of no use. The Handmaid's Tale, we are discarded.
No, we're the maids. Yeah.
Yeah.
We do the cooking and cleaning in The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, we're so... What do they call the wives? I can't remember. Or what do they call the harlots?
Oh, no, I was going to say Martha's. Martha's are the maids.
Yeah, they are.
I can't remember what they call the chicks in the brothel.
They're like Jezebels or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
We're no longer Jezebels, my dear.
Yeah, no, I don't have the patience for that. Let me wash dishes in silence.
Well, so I liked the Eugene and Hitler stuff a lot. And one of the things that I really loved about going back to the beginning scenes with Eugene is that he has no good choice except being brutally honest.
Hitler or Eugene?
Eugene. He says to Tracy, I've got no good choice. Whether I tell you the truth, you kill yourself.
Yeah.
Whether I lie to you or whether I kiss you, you kill yourself. So I really liked that. I thought that was really good. And I thought, hell is manipulation. And like I said, redemption is realizing the truth and letting go.
Well, and fear. I think hell is fear.
Yes,
also.
Good point.
I think he was afraid of telling her no or telling her yes or telling her what she wanted to hear. Confronting his dad, confronting Prairie Dog. Is it Prairie Dog Phil? I swear to God, it's Prairie Dog Phil.
I think you're right.
I think...
Now I don't feel so bad about him getting beaten up by the other mascot.
No, not at all. No. The chief.
Right.
Yeah, because Prairie Dog Phil is supposed to be the more PC, because we're not supposed to have cultural appropriation icons like the
Well said.
Thank you.
Like the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes, Kansas City. Yeah, sports ball. I don't know.
I watched the sports ball. You saw this.
Okay, I watched the last like 20 minutes of this sports ball. And
Brian would be so proud of the both of us.
for those of you who just now are catching on that we're podcasting after January, the sports ball would be the Super Bowl, or so I'm told. And of course, we were all rooting for not the Patriots.
Right. Sorry, anybody out there who loves the Patriots, but Tom Brady. Two words, Tom Brady.
Yeah, if you're rooting for the Patriots, you know what you've done. So I actually caught the like best two parts of the game, and it was the call at the when the Eagles dude does the touchdown and the ball pops out of his hand after he gets into the end zone, and you know they had to review it for like 20 minutes from 8 different angles and have like a consultation with NASA. And I was riveted, and I don't like sports ball. And then the one with the interception where the Eagles dude, and I'm not even doing names. It's just the Eagles dude and the Patriots dude. The Eagles dude like bats the ball out of the hands of the Patriot, and like it was so hilarious because the Patriot player like completed the pass without the ball. It was just muscle memory that he threw the ball and the ball was already like 20 feet away from him, like
so cool.
Yeah. So I caught the best 2 points in the game.
I don't know. The point where the quarterback for the Eagles actually scored a touchdown off of his own start was pretty freaking amazing.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Yeah, it was earlier in the game.
Okay, yeah. So we had some friends invite us over because they got a giant platter of Wetzel's Pretzels, which is a really cool pretzel place here in Juneau.
Oh, wow. That sounds good.
Yeah, so they got a big old thing of pretzels and invited a bunch of people over for the halftime show, and which, not that great. I'm not going to hate on Justin Timberlake. I'm not a fan, but
it was not that great.
It was very meh, you know. I would rather had nipple, but whatever.
And the commercials were meh.
Well, and what they do is they release most of them before the Super Bowl, which I think is weird. But I'm really, really appreciative to know that the Crocodile Dundee commercial was not
just a joke.
Oh, thank God.
Right.
Because, I would have had to watch it because of Chris Hemsworth, but I was kind of hoping that the guys that edited out all the women in the latest Star Wars movie would have edited out everything down to all the Chris Hemsworth scenes and then I could have watched it. But I'm just so glad to know that was a viral media campaign to go visit Australia. Oh, because they would have ruined that movie.
I'm with ya.
Yeah, or movies, the franchise, with I forget the name of the guy that
Paul
was
Hogan.
To be... No.
Oh, yeah. I forget the guy who was supposed to be the son, but it was dreadful.
He's a funny bit actor in a few things, and some Seth Rogen comedies, by the way.
Not a surprise.
Yeah, he was in This Is the End, I think, where Seth Rogen and a bunch of his friends do a movie about basically the rapture. And the guy is a bad guy and kind of in the movie, and it's a funny bit part. But I can't see him supporting his own movie, and so iconic as Crocodile Dundee. So, but yeah.
We are totally off topic again. See, we have no trouble filling time.
No, not at all. Not at all. Especially when you get me on the sports ball.
All right. Now, stop the sports ball and back to Preacher and the Word. So what else you got for me?
So I have an issue with the tongs. So the finger under the stove, Tulip picked up with a pair of tongs.
Okay.
I have so many questions. Why? Like, it's just a finger.
But she was squicked out. It was Cassidy's finger.
Okay, so she used the tongs. Do you wash them and put them back in the drawer? Or do you throw the tongs away?
If you're Tulip, you throw the tongs away.
Okay. Okay, I will accept that because I think I would have just gotten a paper towel and treated it like a little turd or something. Like,
That's because you and I have had too many dogs in our lives.
exactly. I would have just got a roll of, some toilet paper and like bunched it up and flushed it. Like, I just,
Boy,
and
how
that
do you
would have
explain
also,
that to the Roto-Rooter guy, though?
and I was thinking about that. I was like, so if like for any reason the police were to come in and find that, it would have Cassidy's fingerprints on it, and he'd be like, I have all 10 fingers. Like, I must have a twin out there shedding parts,
I must have a twin that's doing all of those things you're accusing me of.
Exactly. What a great cover. But I was so perplexed about her picking the finger up with tongs. I'm like, why waste the tongs?
Yeah, you
'Cause, like,
totally throw the tongs away.
if you're so squicked out that you have to use tongs, then you can't ever use those tongs again.
Right.
And it really diverted my attention, which is not hard, but I'm just saying.
And I would like to say, by the way, which I didn't get to say to you at the beginning, no more killing, no more drinking, no more killing, no more drinking.
Well, I'll meet you halfway. No more killing. Oh, that's funny.
I'm not sure that I've got a whole heck of a lot. We talked a lot about, although I do have to say, Cassidy has an ongoing obsession with foreskins.
I loved the foreskins and the baby formula because
It's cannibalism.
Okay, that is actually a callback, I think, to
It's the beginning of the season.
episode 2, Mumbai Sky Tower.
Oh, I thought it was episode 1 where they talked about them.
He was talking to Fior when they were hanging out and doing like peyote or something in Fior's room. Yeah, they were on a total drug trip, and he was telling Fior about his theory
But
about.
they were also talking about it in the car, him, Tulip, and Jesse at the beginning.
Okay, I thought we had heard it at a different point. Yeah,
he's
like,
totally obsessed.
He's obsessed with foreskins and the baby formula. Yeah.
By the way, I have stopped drinking for the night because there is too much Neosporin in my drink.
That's fun. Yeah, I thought that was comical.
Cassidy is the best bartender.
His potation, not potion. Potation. Yeah, that was very good, and I loved the discussion at the kitchen table about you're like third in charge.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's like, I'll have you know, I'm in charge of a whole heap of people.
It kind of made me wonder if we weren't going to get more about his vampire history, though, when he said that.
I didn't think of that.
Well, it obviously didn't happen, but it made me wonder.
So when they were talking about just, cutting loose and going to the beach or whatever, and he was looking at Tulip's neck longingly,
yes.
I couldn't tell if that was him listening to her heartbeat to see if her heart sped up when she talked about going someplace with him.
Oh, good call.
Or, I didn't know if that was like a vampire lie detector test, see if maybe her pace quickened, but was it because that he was longing for her blood or her body? I don't know.
Yes, all of the above.
Right? I feel like there needed to be a little bit more explanation because I think I read far too much into that.
Did you see the post that I put on Facebook for you about overthinking?
I did, and I have a meme to post back, but I've overthought it and haven't done it. So, the other thing that I was going to say is the Saint, did the second worst thing that you can do in this episode. The first thing, of course, being killing the dog.
Right.
The second one is, what do I hate? Monologuing. He monologued.
Oh.
He had Jesse dead to rights. He could have just killed him, but he wanted to describe the scene of scalping him and why he was going to do it, and and he like he
He
monologued
nearly succeeded.
And what?
He nearly succeeded.
Right, and I kind of thought for a second there, I was like, are we going to lose that do?
Right. No, Jesse, no. Although Tulip would be happy. She hates that haircut.
That's funny. But I was just like, again, with the, do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to not. So, yeah, I was like, just kill him! Like, if you're going to do it, just kill him, quit monologuing. So.
Well, then Ms. Mannering would not have had time to get there and stop it. So,
Yeah. And that would be the end of the series, because Jesse would be dead. Or would he? Does, Genesis give him some extra, life points or something?
Maybe.
Yeah.
You would think.
I would hope so.
Well, after the pain in the butt of carrying Genesis around for 2 seasons, I would think so.
I don't know. It's a pretty cool gift. I mean... you and I have talked about using it or not using it, and we're all uppity and are too good to use it because there are repercussions. But yeah, it is a cool gift.
And I'm not sure, there are days that I waver. There are days I would probably use it. There are days I'm not so good.
Yeah, there are days that I'm totally human and I would. Yeah. My other one was when the Pope was making the announcement at the Vatican.
Right.
And he's like, Jesus, or some reasonable approximation thereof, is coming.
Right. And you're totally thinking, Jesse?
Actually, no. I was thinking
you were thinking Humperdoo. Oh, that's so funny.
Because Humperdoo looks like Jesus. And so, it's like, well, it's kind of like a copy of a copy of a copy. It kind of looks like the original, but not quite as good, So, I mean, as far as Messiah goes, I think that we could do worse with Jesse,
Or worse than Jesse.
I'm still, I'm still Team Humperdoo. Humperdoo 2020. Is anyone following me? Lesser of the two evils, maybe. I don't. If you're still listening, thank you.
I need to laugh. You're doing a great job.
See, this is why we procrastinate on the podcast, so that Marnell could be extra funny. Because I'm extra.
Well, and on that note, I don't think I've got anything else to add, but did you have any numbers?
I did not. Okay, so the only number that I could kind of maybe sort of vaguely come up with was the when Cassidy and Tulip were in the ambulance.
Okay.
And they flashed on the little thing that says Division of Grail Industries on the back of the ambulance.
Right. Was there a number there?
Okay, so there was a plate number, but it was so blurred out that I'm like, did they not take the time to get a fake plate number? And they just blurred it out for the show because it was so difficult to catch that I couldn't get it. But what I could get of it was just a random mix of numbers and letters. So, yeah, it remains a mystery. And I kind of think that one was intentionally blurred and cut away from very quickly. So, yeah. The only other numbers were ones that we had seen before with the
the hell numbers and...
Right, the hell numbers and the license plate numbers and everything on the Soul Happy Go-Go armored transport.
So I actually had 2 numbers.
Ooh.
So if you notice, and this was a kind of a big stretch, but 3 was a number. You're like third in charge. Eugene had to basically had like 3 tries with Tracy to get it right, to get to the point where he was able to free himself from his hell.
Oh God, it feels like there was a lot more.
I was being literal.
Okay.
So he had 3 situations he had to deal with before he escaped hell. Tracy, the prairie dog, and his dad.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, 3. So the number 3 appears in the Bible 467 times, which I thought was just kind of a random, interesting fact. And it symbolizes completeness, which I thought, there you go. I mean, if you think about it, 3 tries with Tracy, completion. 3 situations to deal with before he escapes hell, completion.
Okay, and see, I thought I was stretching with this.
Ah!
When we see the saint trapped in the armored vehicle, we have 1 week. Well, I was like, well,
No,
1.
so I was like 2.
Okay, and then there was 1 more week. Well,
Right.
week is 7 days, and on the 7th day God rested, and the number 7 is said to be God's own number, and it's associated with divine completion and perfection.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
See, you did have a number.
Yeah, so I completion. You had 3, I had 7. They kind of mean the same thing.
Well, and I also had 2.
Okay.
So 2 because of the 2 weeks in the van with Hoover.
Okay.
And 2 is union, division, or verification by witnesses.
See, and again, union, completion.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was probably stretching it too, but those were the only numbers I could come up with.
Interesting. Wow. And like we said, I don't watch ahead, so I don't know what happens next episode. But our 3 are fractured again.
Mom and Dad are fighting.
It's not even so much mom and dad are fighting. It's mom and dad are taking a break because Hair Star made the point of, what does Jesse need you for? You're not special. And
That was awful, wasn't that?
It was. And
I love the way Cassie backtalked him.
And then, I know that was so funny. You are so ugly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just saw you and I thought it and I had to say it.
It's as hypnotic as a school bus crash.
So, and, Tulip says it to Jesse in the diner. She's like, what do you need us for? And Jesse doesn't answer. So our 3 are fractured. And our last scene we leave off on is Jesse taking the role of Messiah. So what's to come of our Tulip and our Cassidy?
I don't know. We're going to find out next week.
We will. Stay.
Please stay tuned.
If you're with us now, you'll be with us next week.
You'll be with us till the end.
And, that is a great way to
wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
So, hey, little sister.
Hey, big sister.
To the end of the world.
Till the end of the world.
Everybody have a good week.
Good night.
Good night.
Left his body